What a snoozer of an episode of Monday Night Raw from April the 10th. Look, I do not care that half the roster was stuck with Easter-related traveling issues. I do not care. This show was as dry as your grandma. It's terrible. It was an awful show. Oh my goodness. What a dry show. Oh, it's embarrassing. I mean, where's all my geeks with the stopwatch? How many hours of wrestling did we have today? Oh, there was only 30 minutes of wrestling in 3 hours. And then the ratings of the show was super high. This show had at least an hour of wrestling over the 3 hours. And man, I literally did fall asleep during Kevin Owens and Solo Sikoa. I did not care. They didn't even bother to... Look, even if you don't have everybody, you have enough people to tell a story, right? They didn't even bother to try to tell any stories with the Usos while they were there. Like, you had the Usos on the card. And instead of telling a story with them throughout the night about them losing the tag team titles and Solo Sikoa losing their first match and this being about redemption and all this kind of stuff, Roman's not there, you know, they dropped the ball. They threw the Usos in the middle of the show in what had to be a 45-minute match with Alpha Academy. I'm telling you, if it wasn't 45 minutes, it felt like it. That match felt long as hell. I just floored by the absolute stupidity of the booking of this show. Jeez Louise. All right, we started with Rey Mysterio. He said how he wanted things to be different between him and Dominic. And, you know, he really wanted to enjoy the Hall of Fame, but he couldn't. Dominic interrupted and then botched twice, saying, like, keep your name out of my, then thought about it like, your mouth, which is really bad. Later, he botched again by saying that Bad Bunny needs to stop poking his nose in Judgment Day's business. Well, that's what he was supposed to say. But he says, Bad Bunny poke nose in our business or something. He was having a rough night on the microphone, but Dominic still was getting a lot of heat. But Dominic's overall point is that, you know, Judgment Day is his real family. He would have beaten Rey Mysterio if it wasn't for Bad Bunny. And that, after Damian Priest put him through a table, he hopes he learned his lesson. Rey said that Bad Bunny will be back, and he's going to make Dominic regret what he did. But he says that he doesn't like fighting Dominic. He doesn't really want to. But Dominic comes across like a lost cause. So how about a rematch? Dominic was like, nope, I'm not doing that. I will never fight my dad. And then Finn Balor volunteered to have the match next. So Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. Finn Balor wins when Dominic Mysterio blasts Rey in the head with a chain. Coup de grace pin for Finn Balor. Finn is wrestling with 14 staples in his head. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Ballsy decision for Finn Balor to wrestle with staples in his head. At the same time, match was solid enough. Finn Balor, Rey Mysterio, they struggled to get the crowd into it because the crowd was fine, at least early, and then they just collapsed. They collapsed near the end. They finally got into it. But the match was okay. There was no, I would say, match that was, well, yeah, there was a match that was awful. Can't wait to talk about it. Lita was attacked backstage. Oh, my baby. Liv Morgan is screaming like it's a murder scene. Lita is down, but she's still conscious. Like, she's just holding her head and, like, kneeling. And Liv is like, ah! Ah! Like, like somebody ran over her cat or something like that. I don't know. You think she was being chased up the street by Jason Voorhees the way she was screaming. I'm like, oh my God. And these are your opponents. Liv is her opponent. And Liv is screaming, help, somebody get somebody do something. I think half of Lita's problem was Liv screaming. That's what I think. Jesus H. Christ. Then we get Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. Becky Lynch talks about how she wants to slap the head of the would-be attackers, and she has some idea who the attackers are going to be. And said that Lita was going to a, quote, medical facility. Dan said she was willing to go this by herself, but then somebody gave her the idea, and Trish is going to have her back. So Trish is going to defend the tag team titles with Becky Lynch against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan in a match that collapsed at the bell. This match was awful from bell to bell. Absolutely awful. Awful. It is incredible. It's bad. For starters, let's talk about the manhandle slam for one moment. This move routinely looks like shit. Unless the person taking it is really athletic, like a Bianca Belair, because she can jump. So when she first took the manhandle slam, it looked great, because she can jump. When you look at somebody like Liv Morgan, who's got the ups of a toddler, it ain't going to work. All right, she's got no spring in them legs. So she barely gets up at any point in time. It looks like shit. Every single time anything happens to Liv Morgan, she has to jump. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Raquel Rodriguez is out there absolute dry toast. She just smiles and does back flexes. And her back is not even as impressive as it used to be. Liv Morgan is a champion again, so I guess that's a positive. The finish, I actually did like. The finish was fine. Trish blind tags herself in. She tries to chick kick Liv Morgan, who ducks it and just rolls her up for the pin. So that was fine. That was a perfectly acceptable finish. Trish Stratus, who wasn't a champion, is the one who lost the titles. Okay, fine. Becky Lynch, thanks Trish for her attempt. And they talk it out a little bit. And then this was incredibly bad from beginning to end. But it didn't stop being bad when the bell rang. Because Trish botched the heel turn. She was supposed to punch Becky Lynch from behind. And she looked like she gently tapped Becky Lynch from behind. She ultimately knocks Becky Lynch down, picks her up. I think she gave her a chick kick or something like that, and just walked away. Later, she would ignore Byron Saxton backstage and not explain her actions. Everything about this was awful. Everything. No chemistry between Trish and Becky. They had no real, I said chemistry already. There was nothing between them. They didn't really play off of each other. It seemed like two cardboard cutouts out there. It was awful. It was bad. Look, Trish hasn't been good since she came back. She hasn't done much of anything. I don't know what they're doing with her or where we're going with this. Is she going to wrestle at Backlash? Is she going to wrestle at Saudi Arabia? I know that the match with Becky is coming, but maybe they canceled the idea of Trish Stratus joining Damage Control, which, I thought that was the move, because Damage Control kind of needed the shot in the arm, but apparently not. Apparently it's just going to be Trish versus Lita, and then Trish versus Becky. Because, of course, Trish is going to be the one who's attacked Lita from behind, right? And maybe it's going to end up with Damage Control, being behind the attack or whatever. I don't know. They also teasing Damage Control is about to break up. They'll talk about that in a minute, too. But all of this is the shits. Everything about this is no good. The idea that Trish Stratus is going to wrestle Becky Lynch, I don't see that match being any good. I really don't. If judging by Trish Stratus's current performances, I don't see them being any good. Her promos haven't been good. She hasn't really stood out. She's basically been a name on the marquee, which is kind of, indicative of Triple H's booking, where, nobody really stands out that often. It's just people in places, and then they have matches, and that's it. You would think that Vince would have highlighted Trish Stratus a lot more, would have had her maybe even front and center in this whole thing, because she would be the biggest star, involved with this thing. And then not knowing that you wouldn't have had her for the long term, you would definitely have put more emphasis on her. And, Becky Lynch is Becky Lynch. She'll be all right. And Lita, she comes, she goes, whatever. So I don't see that match being any good. I'm not interested. Already not interested. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan being the tag team champions, you might as well bye-bye to those tag team titles because they was barely on TV as it is. And Becky Lynch had it. And she's on TV every week. So what the hell is going to happen now that Raquel and Liv are going to have them? Those titles are going in the closet. They're going in the refrigerator for the next month or so or something like that. Until they decide to take the belts from them. I don't see anything at all jumping with this tag team division. Especially with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez as the champions. This is dead meat. All of this is dead. My only hope is that something kind of hot comes out of this. And this was the only real angle on the show that was meant to catch anybody's attention. You know, which makes me feel bad at how terrible the match was. How terrible the post-match was. Because all of it was botched and screwed up. The crowd still got into the tag team title match because it is a tag team title match. It does have Trish Stratus in it. It does have Becky Lynch in it. And it has people that they care about. But the performances were not good. Just all around not good. You know, it's unfortunate. Paul Heyman cut a promo saying that Kevin Owens is not just a problem, but he's a man who has a problem because Riddle isn't there and Sami Zayn isn't there due to flight delays. But it says that it's more like these two guys saw an opportunity to bail on Kevin Owens, knowing that Solo Sikoa is going to do bad things to them. And they decided to take that opportunity. They took off. Okay. Solo Sikoa versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens cut a promo earlier saying that this might be a bad idea for him to fight Solo Sikoa. But he lets his emotions lead him. His heart tells him to beat the hell out of Solo Sikoa. So even if it is a bad decision, he's going to go through with it. I don't understand why you would go out there and admit to being an idiot. But, I mean, I guess it fits Kevin Owens' character. You know, he kept saying, fight Owens, fight, and all this kind of stuff. This match had no sizzle to it. Solo Sikoa was not on the screen at all until his music played. I was so bored. I was nodding off during this match. I literally nodded off like twice. Solo Sikoa wins. I think the Usos interfered. Yeah, they did. As Solo Sikoa and Kevin Owens were beating Solo Sikoa was beating the tar out of Kevin Owens post-match. Sami Zayn and Riddle made the showed up. They ran to the ring at almost exactly 11 o'clock. Just a little too late to matter. But they did manage to save Kevin Owens from taking an even worse beating. So they're bringing Matt Riddle back into the story. But he's not going to get to talk about, you know, his injection into this story. Nobody else is going to talk about his injection into this story. They're just going to act like he's always been there. Like, you know, the bro has always been there. You know, like, it's not good. It ain't good. I don't care. Look, you don't need these people. You don't need all of these hundreds of people in order to have a decent show. You could have had a decent show just with the people that you had. You could have told a pretty good story for this episode with the crew that you had. You had Kevin Owens, you had the Usos, you had Sami Zayn, you had Matt Riddle. You had the guys to set up a story, even if it was just something you blew off this week. You know, maybe an idea, maybe Sami Zayn and Riddle in the ring cut a promo talking about this thing and talking about each other and all this kind of stuff, just to kind of integrate them into this thing instead of just throwing Riddle out there. But whatever. Kevin Owens lost to Solo Sikoa, just the same as Sami Zayn lost to the Usos. I'm guessing they're setting up some kind of 6-man tag. Hopefully it's no disqualification. It's not just like a regular 6-man tag. That would be boring. These guys have been fighting for too long and fighting too often. So I'm guessing it's going to be I would hope it would be some kind of 6-man tag, no disqualification match at Backlash. I would hope. But this was usually Sami Zayn and the Usos are the best parts of the show. They were not. The Usos wrestled Alpha Academy, defeated them, gained nothing, lost nothing, but the match felt like it was 2 days long. Like legit. I felt like I could have had surgery, open heart surgery, and, you know, healed up perfectly, got married and had 2 kids before this match ended. God damn, that match was long as hell. And that sucked donkey dicks. Why would you do that? I don't know why you would do that. All right, so Bayley is back. She's back on TV after everybody was talking about Bayley quitting the WWE last week, which I didn't even think to comment on, because, I mean, you can't comment on everything just because some dirt sheet idiots claim it. We don't know what the hell happened. She probably got injured, you know, because she didn't wrestle this week either. But she at least made an appearance this week. She comes out of Adam Pearce's office. Dakota Kai is in the hallway being very neurotic. Bayley says, oh yeah, they're going to put me in a triple threat match. And I let them know that we wanted to stay together in the draft. So Dakota and Io starts kind of henpecking Bayley because they're like, look, you keep getting the title shots here. That's not fair. You should give up your shot to one of us. So Bayley was like, okay, if you say so. So she goes back into Adam Pearce's office and politics to give up her spot, which is really weird because, not just because, you know, Bayley's the leader of the team, she should get the spot, but how did she make the decision that Io should get the spot? Like, how was that decided? You know, the threat of mutiny when it comes to damage control is interesting. You can clearly see that they're going to break them up. And you can see that that's the direction that they're going in. Because now Bayley is now having the same body language that Trish Stratus had. And the same body language that Alexa Bliss had. Which is the, I'm a part of this thing, but kind of not really. So it's making it pretty obvious that either they're going to turn on her or she's going to turn on them. But in any event, there was a triple threat match. Io Sky defeated Michin and Piper Niven in a #1 contenders match. The winner was to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title. Io Sky won the match, which was not really a surprise when you look at the people who are in it. I can't believe Piper Niven is still doing jobs. I just can't get it. You know, somebody her size or her abilities, she should not be losing to 4'6" Io Sky. Look, I like Io too. I really do. And I get that they made this a triple threat match so it wouldn't be too bad. But Piper is twice the size of both of these chicks. She should have been stacking them on top of each other, crushing them and kicking them all over the place. But they don't book big people like they used to. Bayley looked genuinely happy that Io won, but she was still standoffish, you know, having been bullied out of her title shot. You know, so I'm guessing she's going to probably have a little bit of an attitude. And maybe they're going to do something slick, like put the belt on Io and then have Bayley challenge her for it or something like that. I don't know. I'm interested. But let's say, for instance, that Bayley did walk out last week because she was upset about Damage Control being broken up or Vince being back or whatever the hell. You got to ask the question of why she showed back up today. And, you know, knowing that likely the creative hasn't changed that much. If she was upset about Damage Control being broken up, you know, possibly, then they're probably still going to end up broken up because that's what it looks like. But there's a lot of stories that maybe she was just sent home, you know, that she was there, but that she was actually sent home. Then there was people saying that she protested and went home. Then there was people feeding into it with Instagram posts and Twitter posts. Oh, Bayley's one of the best in the world. Everything is going to turn out just fine for her. It's like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? Ain't nobody said nowhere that she was going anywhere. You know, we don't know what the hell's going on. And here it is, Raw, and she's back. You know, but the Damage Control thing has got to make a change. There's got to be some changes. You know, they lost the tag team titles. They lost the feud with Becky Lynch and all of them. So they got to do something new. It's not a new thing. It's to have Io wrestle for the singles title. And I'm guessing she's going to lose. And then they're going to have Dakota. And I'm guessing she's going to lose too. And then maybe that's going to be the end of it. We can all hope and pray that Damage Control is on its last legs, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't swear to that. I'm just telling you, I hope so. Okay. What else we got? Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed had a very, very, very long match. And it took them a while to get the crowd on their side, but they finally did it. They won the crowd over, only for the match to end in a double count out. Because, you know, Neither guy should be taking losses. I can tell you this, though. Bronson Reed, that guy was tired. That guy he wasn't just blown up. That guy was tired. He couldn't even do the fight scene at the end. He was just flailing them chunky ass arms around like, oof, oof, get him off me. Get him away from me. I was like, oh my God, you beat Okada? Really? You? This guy's 45. You know, like that guy's 45. He's a tank. Lashley's not done. All right. It was a solid enough match with a simple enough story. Bronson Reed's body is too round and thick for Bobby Lashley to put into the Hurt Lock, and he kept countering it. It's, again, smart, you know, simple. Don't need to complicate it too much. Bobby Lashley's favorite move isn't working on Bronson Reed. The crowd really popped on the spine buster when he got Bronson Reed up. That was great. Now, Bobby Lashley does do other moves. Specifically, he does the spear, and sometimes he does the running power slam. I think the running power slam would be visually great for him to pull on a guy like Bronson Reed. But also, you might want to protect a guy like Bronson Reed, too, so that he doesn't get too exposed. But it depends on what his future is. Like, he seems to be like this is his role now, that he's just going to be a solid good hand mid-carder. Like so many solid good hand mid-carders, like, I don't know, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, goddamn Baron Corbin, just so many on the roster, especially now. If this is supposed to elevate Bronson Reed, he did a good job in the match of looking fine. But afterwards, when he was throwing them feckless punches at Lashley, I don't know, man. I don't know if I was into that. But the crowd had to work, well, they had to work really hard to get the crowd into this match because the crowd really didn't care at first. And then when they did start to care, that's when the disqualification or the double count out hit. So this match felt like it wasted 22 minutes of everybody's life. It's very unfortunate. Very disappointing. Very upsetting, quite honestly. Cody Rhodes cut a promo, says, there's no one to blame that I lost to Roman Reigns. Blame me. I didn't prepare enough. I didn't understand the depth that Roman Reigns would sink to. It's like you haven't been watching the product. He literally had the Usos and Solo Sikoa jump into every match since at least September. And if you want to go back even further, it's been over a year since Jey Uso has been getting involved in every single title match. Cody, you don't follow the product. You don't deserve to be the world champion. Okay? So, the big controversy that comes out of this promo is that Cody says his friend Matt, and people don't know if it was Matt Jackson or Matt Cardona or Matt Hardy, says to him that wins and losses don't matter because he was in the main event of WrestleMania. And then Cody says, we're prize fighters. If we're not fighting for the top prize, what is the use? If wins and losses don't matter, then why do we fight? The only people who say wins and losses don't matter are Hall of Famers who have finished their stories. And I'm like, okay, Cody. Now, what ends up happening is people decide to chop off half that promo. He said, you know, his friend Matt told him that wins and losses don't matter. Okay. They stopped right there. They didn't go into the part where Cody disagreed and said the only people who think that way are Hall of Famers who have already finished their story. Because that's literally what Road Dogg said. Road Dogg said wins and losses don't matter. So now Cody is saying the only people who say that are guys who have already done this stuff and who are done and who are on the outside of it. Bruce Pritchard has also said that wins and losses don't matter. I have said wins and losses don't matter because they can't matter because wrestling's not real. But within kayfabe, you should want to win. That's why when you wrestle a match, you shouldn't turn your back on your opponent to do another move. You shouldn't just randomly run to the top rope to do a move that's not a finisher, or to do flippity-doo-dahs, run the top rope, do a 630 Hurricane Rana, and any of that shit. Because the point of a wrestling match is to win. Just like any other game. You know, like, that's the difference between street ball and the NBA. Street ball ain't really about scoring. It's about showing off. Let's show off your handles. Who cares if you can't dunk? Who cares if you can't shoot? Can you dribble? You know? And the dribble is what it's all about. You lose 100 games, but you dribble very well. Your handles was dope. You know, that was about it. And, you know, so Cody is saying, look, no, I care about winning, which is good. In kayfabe, he should care about winning. Outside of kayfabe, he knows that wins and losses can't matter. But this is within kayfabe. Cody, the character, can't say, well, I was in the main event of WrestleMania. I made a lot of money, so none of this matters. Because then you're just shitting on everybody who buys a ticket, you know? Like, clearly it matters. It has to matter. And anyway, he starts talking about people have, he said he heard two things coming out of WrestleMania. But one was the wins or losses don't matter. He said the second one was that he needed to earn it. And he said it was Mr. Heyman said that I needed to earn it. He went into his story about coming into WWE through developmental, legacy, dashing, Stardust, being the EVP. He hasn't just earned it. He is it. And, you know, that was a good critique because a lot of people have said that Cody didn't go through enough, you know, in order to be world champion and that he needed to go through more adversity, which I kind of agreed with. I do agree that he needed to go through more adversity, mainly because adversity builds character, you know, and you don't want to have too much, obviously, but you want to have enough to reveal the character and the perseverance of the person of your hero in your story. If your hero never loses, your hero never goes through any troubles, people are going to get bored with that story pretty damn quickly. Unless you are really good at writing, in which case you can create like a One Punch Man type of situation where, you know, your hero can always win and win literally with one punch, but the world and everything remains entertaining enough for an audience. WWE has not, or wrestling in general has not mastered that. They've been able to do that for a little while. You know, Goldberg, the Road Warriors, they can have guys with an air of invincibility for a little while. You know, Tatanka, Yokozuna, you know, Andre the Giant, you know, for 15 years or whatever. You could do it for a short amount of time. Andre is probably the longest, and that was due to the territories. And even then, guys were body slamming him, and he was losing matches because everybody wanted to beat the Giant. So even that's kind of a, you know, an asterisk. But in this situation, Cody's like, look, I've been through it all. I've done a lot. You know, I want to win. I need to be the champion. But then he says he wanted to move on to Brock Lesnar because that's what he really wants to talk about. Then he says he heard that Brock was unhappy with his spot. And then he said, well, WrestleMania is about the bright lights. And for years it's been about Brock. And this year it wasn't about him. But said that he doesn't believe that that's really Brock Lesnar's motivation. He said that it's his theory that Brock is uncertain about the change that Cody brings to the WWE. Then he says, why, if you were Brock Lesnar, why would you ever be uncertain? Then he starts talking about Brock looking in the mirror, knowing that he's a predator and looking at everybody else like a victim. You're a victim. I'm a victim. Undertaker's a victim. Hulk Hogan is a victim. The Rock was a victim. Yada, yada, yada. And he says, is that what he thought when he looked at me? That Cody Rhodes is just another victim. Then he asks, he says, am I scared of Brock Lesnar? Yes. Only a fool wouldn't be scared of Brock Lesnar. I admit that I'm scared of Brock Lesnar, but that just makes me want to fight Brock Lesnar. Then he goes on about wanting to make Brock his victim and challenged him to WrestleMania Backlash, which of course people flipped their lids because he said WrestleMania Backlash. They were like, oh my God, WrestleMania Backlash. So like, look, just relax, okay? It's probably a slip of the tongue. It's not that big of a deal. Who cares if they call it WrestleMania Backlash anyway? Everybody's going to watch it regardless. Just let's relax. Okay, So Brock Lesnar and Cody to be the main event in Puerto Rico. All right. I like that idea. I like that match. I would have probably tried to save it for a bigger event, but I don't know where they're going with this. So I can't tell you whether this is a good match or not. I would have saved this for the big summer feud. Like, I would have started this thing in like May, you know, or June. But then again, it might still be the summer feud, because who knows? Cody might lose the first match, and then, you know, they keep, you know, getting into it, and he has, you know, I think he might have a trilogy with Brock. You know, if I'm being honest, I think he might have a trilogy. Is he going to go 3-0? I don't think so. Not like he did over Seth Rollins, but I can see him maybe losing the first match to Brock, or Brock getting disqualified in the first match, you know, and then them running it back where, you know, Brock wins proper, and then Cody wins the third and final match, probably at SummerSlam in some kind of gimmick match. I could see them doing something like that. Defeating Brock would then propel Cody back into the main event picture. You know, and then maybe you have him beat Brock right before SummerSlam. Who knows? And then Cody versus Roman in the main event of SummerSlam. But I like the idea of Cody and Brock. I never would have thought about it being something that I felt like I needed to see, but it's intriguing. It's an intriguing match. Now, what I do want is for Brock to come out there and give a really good reason why he beat up Cody. Even if his reason is, I'm Brock Lesnar, I do what I want to do. I'm like, okay, well, that's a lot better than, well, my spot on the card. That's stupid. And I wish Corey Graves would stop saying that. Because every time he says that, it makes me want to kick him in the chin. You know, his fragile fucking chin, which is connected to his fragile fucking neck. I just want to kick him right in the pointy part of his chin. With the pointy part of my foot right in his goddamn chin. Stop saying that dumb shit. Right? Stop. Don't put that in the universe. It's dumb. Stop saying it. All right. Raw was trash. It was trash again. This time they had a decent excuse. It was Easter. A lot of people missed flights and the roads were clogged up and all kinds of excuses. But they still should have put on a much better show. Looking forward to Cody and Brock. Not looking forward to all the Trish and Becky. But, you know, we're stuck with what we're stuck with. What do you guys think? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.